What are you scared of? For real. It's an honest question, right? We all have fears. And I'm not talking like fear of heights or fear of spiders or fear of snakes, because as real as those things might be, we're talking about something a little bit deeper today. So strap in and get ready for episode 107. Let's go.
I've always been that skinny guy.
Why can't I gain muscle mass?
What do I do in the gym?
They said I'd always be skinny.
This is your complete source for how to gain lean muscle and break out of your skinny body. From nutrition to getting the most out of your workouts and everything in between. We know just how frustrating gaining muscle mass can be, but don't worry, we've got you covered. You're listening to the Bones to Bulk podcast. Hey, welcome to today's episode. My name is Brian Parody. I will be your host. And first off, thank you for tuning into this podcast. I know there are 1,000,001 different podcasts out there that you could be listening to, and you've chosen this one. And whether you're a first-time listener or a long-time listener, I greatly, greatly appreciate it. Real quick before we get started, if you have not checked out Bones to Bulk on YouTube, you need to go over there and do it right now. Well, not if you're driving. Don't do it right now. But when you get a second, go to YouTube, type in Bones to Bulk, subscribe to the channel, turn on the notifications. I typically do videos that coincide with the podcast. For instance, if I'm talking about, certain muscle groups, I usually around the same time frame will do video demonstrations of different workouts you can do to incorporate those muscle groups. So a lot of it goes hand in hand. So if you've not checked out the Bones to Bulk YouTube channel, go subscribe right now. Leave us a comment. Let me know what you'd like to see future videos on. And yeah, it's a great resource. All right, with that being said, let's jump in. So fear is an interesting beast. Fear likes to play with us. It really does. And regardless of what we're getting ready to do in life, whether it's maybe chase after the girl, maybe it's have a kid, maybe it's take a new job or move out of state, make a decision that maybe our family doesn't agree with, have that hard talk with a friend who just is dragging us down. There's a lot of things that can bring in fear. And I know for me personally, I've had a lot of those experiences. One, I did move out of state chasing after a girl. Thankfully, it worked out, and we're now happily married 8 years, been together 10 plus. So things that often are super scary for us usually end up being some of the best choices we made. I'll give you another example. When I was almost 30, I decided it would be a great idea to join the military. Now, I joined the reserves, but at the time my wife was in grad school getting her master's degree, and we were living in the state of Arkansas. We had a 2-year-old, and here I am like, hey, what do you think about this? And my wife, she's always super supportive. She's all about chasing after your dreams. She has a whole podcast and business about that. And here I am, have to go away for training for close to 9 months, just be gone out of the picture. And so that was a very scary time. That was by far drastically one of the biggest changes I've ever made. And again, looking back, one of the best decisions I ever made. I'm still in the reserves. I love it. And it was something that was super scary. One more example. We wanted to move away from Arkansas. We wanted to move to Georgia, which is where we live now. And spoiler alert, right? And we were scared to move. It's a cross-country move. It's away from everything that's familiar to us. But at the same time, that excites us. We like new things. We like setting off and kind of discovering something new and blazing our own path, so to speak. And so now here we are over 2 years into living in Georgia. And we went through some really hard times the first year we were here, I'm not going to lie, but in hindsight, so many things played out that would not have happened if we hadn't made that move, and for the better. And so my point in all these examples is to basically say, you're going to be terrified out of your mind. When we moved to Georgia, where we were supposed to be moving to fell through 2 days before I was going to get in the moving truck and drive all our stuff here. 2 days. So I flipped my lid, literally. Ask my wife. I'm a planner. I like having things nailed out. Planned way in advance, set plenty of time for stuff. I like things in order. So when 2 days before we're making a cross-country move and where we're living falls through, that's a huge blow to me. And so we got through it, found another place and we made it work for the time being until we could find something more permanent. And so stuff works out. Things may not go according to plan, and more than likely they won't. Usually everything that can and will happen does, right? And so
that fear is normal. That's kind of what I want you to take away from this. Fear is a normal reaction we have to a lot of big decisions in life. And you know that it's a big decision if you're experiencing fear over it. But oftentimes, now I'm not saying 100% of the time. There's certain instances, more kind of like life or death situations, where you need to listen to fear because it can tell us something. But when it comes to making a decision, often there isn't a right and wrong choice. It wouldn't have been a right or wrong choice for us to move to Georgia, but what one way is going to be better and one way is going to lead to things. And so, oftentimes we're presented with all these choices and there's not clearly like this is 100% right and this is 100% wrong. It usually doesn't work like that. I mean, you can make anything work. You really can. But you've got to choose, what do you want? What's going to make you the happiest? What's going to lead you to maybe goals you have or where you want to be? And oftentimes it is the scariest option because it takes stepping out of your comfort zone. It takes getting out of that bubble, getting out of what's familiar, because we love the familiar, right? I mean, we find that restaurant we love and we keep going back to it. Or we finally find our gym and we stick with that gym. We don't go to the other locations. We find even the certain pieces of equipment we like in that gym and we make sure we use those on a regular basis. Like, we're creatures of habit. We're designed that way. And so when it comes to making these big new decisions, it's scary as hell. And I get that. But what I want to encourage you to do is start making the decisions that scare you. Look and see, you know what? This would be awesome, but it scares the hell out of me. Let me take that step towards that. And I know everything in your mind says, no, it's scary. I'm not going to go that direction. But I'm telling you, more likely than not, it's going to lead you to such good things. And what's going to happen is you're going to be set with challenges. Like, if you choose that path, guess what? You're going to hit challenges. I just gave you some examples of ones that I hit. You're going to hit roadblocks. That's part of it. But don't lose your head. You probably will for a few minutes. I know I did. But then figure out, okay, this is what's going on. Now, how do I get beyond this? Then do what you need to do to get beyond that. And what you're going to find is as you do that and make those critical decisions, you're going to find, hey, I was able to handle that and we're okay. So I wonder what else I can handle. And it gives you courage to chase after more things that are fearful. Because let me tell you, the fear, if you're waiting for the fear to go away to make a choice, to make a decision, to start doing something, you'll be waiting forever and you'll never do it. Because that fear is not just going to go away. It won't go away. It will be there staring you in the face when you take that step. It's just the way it works. So please don't put on hold something for years that you want to do because you're scared of doing it, or you're afraid of what your neighbors or your friends or even your family will say about you. Like, if you know in your heart it's the decision you need to make, then make it. I'm not saying don't listen to other sources of wisdom and weigh options, like, of course, but when you're at that point where you know that you know inside of you what the next step is, don't let fear stop you. Don't let it cripple you. Don't let it wrap its fingers around you and just keep you stuck in place doing something that you hate because you're afraid. I'll give you one more example. I worked a job for over 5 years that, don't get me wrong, it was a great job, paid well, great benefits. Like, I was thankful for the job, but I didn't enjoy it at all. Not at all. And I felt trapped in it because I was afraid. I was like, oh, this is a good job. Why would I leave this job? But better things were out there for me that I enjoy more, that pay just as well, if not better, that have better benefits. Like, there's always another option out there. Don't feel like you're trapped. Don't feel like you're stuck. So whatever path you know you need to be taking and whatever fear is standing in your way, just know that you can overcome that fear. You can get beyond it. You can stare it in the face and say, not today. I'm moving forward anyway. You've got this.